Okay, we'll call this board to session. Everybody join me in saying the flag, please. The pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands for one nation under indivisible with liberty and justice. Link, roll call, please.
David Schrader.
Here.
Dan Boltner.
Here.
Craig Wortman.
Here.
Mike Higgins.
Here.
Lori Holland here. Fred Yant.
Here.
Diana Johnson here. Tina Johnson here. Sam Alwinian.
Here. All right, previewing the agenda, see if anyone has any changes. Then I'm gonna make one change. I noticed that in the reports section number 5, we do not have a policy report. We need to add that as letter F. Did you have anything?
General change.
Right, this being the time for our first of our 2 public comment sections. I'd like to, if anyone's like to make a comment, please come up to the podium and state your name and your address for the record.
Do we have to sign up?
We prefer it because it's easier for, if you can sign it so that Lynn can get it for the record, but you can try to do it from voice as well. So,
Hi, my name is Linda O'Neill from Watertown, Wisconsin. I'm a district. I have a lot of praise that I would like to give to the district. When I go to work in a new classroom or meet a new staff member or administrator, I inevitably add another person to my list of people that I admire and like. Staff and teachers have been welcoming and have made me feel appreciated. The principals are wonderful. They consistently check on me to see if I have what I need. I love my job. I've also seen some of the hard work of many teachers. They are stuck, and it has made a big impression on me. I've learned to empathize with some of the difficulties that teachers face, and I can say that my eyes have been opened. I want them to have what they need so they can focus on what they do best, teaching. Or I'm asking you to please get these things to them through specific actions that serve specific problems, not by implementing broad initiatives that further serves political interests. As someone who works with other people's children, I have never and will never try to push my personal opinions. That is the ethical way to behave with someone else's child. Unfortunately, what I have seen happen since I've tried to be more engaged in the system is not what I expected. Here's what I've seen. In April, the voters in Watertown clearly sent a message to the district that they wanted DEI out and no DEI to be standard. However, with the tool of strategic planning meetings, what is happening is that out of all the voters, there are a small number of voters that can make it to those meetings. Then, this group is crafting the goalposts for the district. This small number of voters now have access to a tool which will effectively force the broader sentiment of the voters, which is the no DEI, to fit under their goalposts, which happen to be pro-DEI. This is handicapping the votes of the largest portion of voters and not an accurate reflection of Watertown. Next, at one of these meetings, I heard a parent try to express her concern about whole child and how it hurt her relationship with her child. The parent was silenced when chants of shut it down could be heard. To make a long story short, a records request was filed, and out of it was unearthed some kind of version of a policy that guides staff to operate with children as they see fit, even if it defies the parents' wishes. This policy was not on board docs, appears to have been concealed from parents and even concealed from you, the board members. This brings me back to the April election and the strategic meetings tool. Under the whole child umbrella, a whole lot can fit, including DEI. Under DEI, it's further policies such as the one I just mentioned, along with numerous other measures that serve to wedge parent from child and worse, serve to promote adult political agendas. I'm asking the board to be open to change and put an end to this. I would like to see the board save the $30,000 cost for the meetings and see the board assume the role of crafting the district goals. Please put an end to any measure that serves to take on the role of parent. I'm asking you to please focus on being a non-political district, on strengthening the parent-child bond by showing kids that parents are to be respected, and on getting teachers the real help they need specific to those needs. Thank you for giving me the chance to speak. I appreciate your work.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening, my name is Linda Proctor, I'm from Watertown. Thank you for your time tonight. I just want to read some information from two very well-researched gender issues. And so I'm just going to kind of go through some. Dr. Lawrence Mayer and Dr. Colin Pugh published a report in the fall 2016 in a journal known as the New Atlantic, the Journal of Technology and Society. The report by Dr. Mayer and Dr. McHugh was titled Sexuality and Gender, Findings from the Biological, Psychological, and Social Sciences. And you may ask, who are these guys? What's their credibility? Well, Dr. Mayer is a scholar and resident in the Department of Psychiatry at Johns Hopkins University's Medicine. Dr. McHugh was the psychiatrist in chief at the Johns Hopkins Hospital for 25 years, with a long history of dealing with issues surrounding transgenderism. This report runs to like 140 pages or more, and it addresses many issues in addition to transgenderism. After a 27-page discussion of various medical and biological surrounding gender identity, Dr. Mayer and Dr. McHugh conclude the hypothesis is that gender identity is an innate, fixed property of human beings that are independent biological sex. That a person might be a man trapped in a woman's body or a woman trapped in a man's body is not supported. Continuing, in reviewing the scientific literature, we find that almost nothing is well understood when we seek biological explanations of what causes some individuals to state that their gender does not match their biological sex. Yet, despite the scientific uncertainty, drastic interventions are prescribed and delivered to patients identifying transgender. This is especially troubling when patients receive these interventions are children. We are deeply alarmed that these therapies, treatments, and surgeries seem disproportionate to the severity of the distress being experienced by these young people, and are at any rate premature, since the majority of children who identify as gender opposite their biological sex will not continue to do so as adults. Now, here's a summary in layman's terms. They said that the idea that transgenderism is something that is produced by biological causes is not supported by science. They say that nothing is well understood when trying to explain transgenderism by biological means. And yet, despite this lack of understanding, despite this lack of evidence, doctors are nevertheless proceeding with these drastic interventions in a patient's treatment using pharmaceuticals and knives in one hand and an invoice in the other hand to do drastic things to the bodies of these people and to children when there is no scientific basis to do it. Dr. Mayer and Dr. McHugh expressed their deep alarm at this. I'm just wanting to brief you a little bit on this. I'm just pleading with the board to please do right for the children, understanding the immense scope of transgenderism. They do this 140-page report is available for anyone who would like it, as well as the 20 discussion. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Tammy Fournier, Watertown. Good evening, board members. Before I introduce myself, I'd like to take a moment to express my sincere appreciation I have for all of you. On your own accord, each of you decided to give up a large amount of your free time to ensure that our district is running appropriately and that the education the children of our community receive reflects voters' desires. I know that being a school board member is often a thankless job where little direction is given by community members after the election cycle. I hope to change that during the 2024-2025 school year and look forward to working with each of you to put the school in a better position to allow growth, improve test scores, and rebuild the parent-board relationship within our community. My name is Tammy Fournier. I have 2 children in the district, and I am the chair of the Jefferson County Moms for Liberty. While our chapter is newly formed, and a few open records requests have been submitted, there are some concerns that I'd like the board to add to your agenda sooner rather than later. First and foremost, I'd like some clarity on what the exact role is of the Strategic Planning Committee. I'm unclear if the results from the committee meeting will direct the education topics our board will allow in this district. At the first meeting, prior focus group survey results were shared, indicating that there is room for improvement to add diversity, equity, and inclusion in our educational model. The results starkly contrast how your constituents voted in the last election. The newly appointed board members ran their campaign to remove such topics. I worry that the committee will hinder this board's ability to run our district as the community sees fit, and feel that this should be addressed immediately to avoid further confusion. Secondly, you are all aware that I submitted an open records request for guidance followed by the district as it pertains to gender transition. Upon receiving the guidance, I was outraged. To learn that this district feels it's optional to inform parents that such things are taking place in school as though this government body has more control over their children than the parents do. To hide such a thing is in direct violation of our Constitution because it is the parents, not the school, who direct the care and upbringing of our children. This evening, I will send each of you an email with information about the case I filed against the Kettle Moraine School District about this exact topic. It will include 2 expert affidavits that will show that schools are hurting more than helping children when they keep secrets from the families that are tasked with raising them, and the court decision that found that the Kettle Moraine School District violated my parental rights by trying to cut myself and my husband out of the decision-making process for our daughter. I ask all of you to review the information so you're better educated on how the guidance is hurting the children and family in our communities. Again, I look forward to working with all of you in the future, and should you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I think you might need a bigger room.
Next speaker.
Supposed to sign in, correct?
If you could, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is David Byrne, in Watertown. I have 3 sons, 2 of them have graduated. Both had tremendous educations at the high school. I have a 3rd one who next year. One thing I'm worried about is groups like Moms for Liberty politicizing our school board and our district. That's for those of you who know or don't know, that's a national initiative, and it's a representative of a national group. And the goal here is not to aid our children. The goal is to disrupt the school district and pit parents against one another, against teachers, against the school board. So I hope that you tread carefully with these groups that are coming to our school board meeting. I think they're going to be they're allowed to persist and listen to. They're going to disrupt and wreck our school district. Thank you.
Anyone else? Do you have anyone online?
Hey guys, I'm Pliska, Watertown, 2 kids in the district. Sorry, it's summer, I can't write and talk at the same time. I was also at the strategic planning, last week. I want to say thank you guys, it was fantastic. As an introvert, I do not love the icebreakers. But really appreciate that I got to sit with people that I didn't know. Our conversations were great. I do appreciate that we have a diversity of views here in town. I'm a big believer in experiential learning and not taking folks' word for things. And since this is the last school board meeting before Watertown's next project, wanted to send you all an invite. We had a little problem with hate last year. The Unity Project has very wisely taken some steps to prevent extremists from coming to this year's Pride in the Park. This year's Pride is being hosted by the United Church of Christ, and its pastor, Chris Rock, is here with us. Thank you, Chris. So rather than listen to extremist groups, talking about how evil trans kids are, it's great if you guys could come. We actually have some kids who are from Watertown High School who are known statewide for their performance. We have a lot of families in the district who are parents. I'm a parent. I have kids who are part of the community. Your families. It will be Saturday, July 27th, up at the MCC, Mall Board. It would be great to see everybody. Again, thank you. You guys have to look at the letter. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone online, Lynn? Thanks, Tyler. All right. Not seeing anyone else here. We'll move on to our next section, and I will point out, and for the public, we will have another public input section at the end of the meeting tonight. And I'll point out to the board members, again, we did this last week with the board, just point out that we've added some time boxing to our different sections, different limits. We're just trying to kind of guide things for this. It's a good meeting rule, so we're going to keep doing this. And the next one will be announcements and recognition communications.
So I have a couple of letters here of thanks and or just acknowledging successes. This one is from Jan Peterson. Dear school board members, just a quick note to say thank you for the recent increase in pay from the 24-25 school year. I also appreciate this information being included in the recent letter of intent rather than waiting some time later into the fall. It is a privilege to work for the Watertown School District. We are grateful for your confidence in us as employees. I have the unique privilege to be at Lincoln Elementary. All of my grandchildren have attended or are currently enrolled. Thank you so much, Jan Peterson, Nutrition Services. And then the second is from Congressman Scott Fitzgerald. I recently learned of Watertown Unified School District is named one of the best communities in our nation for music education by the NAM Foundation for the 13th year in a row. And you are one of just 37 districts out of 421 statewide to receive this award. On behalf of Wisconsin's 5th Congressional District, I wanted to take a moment to extend my congratulations on the success of your commitment to music education. If my staff or I can ever be of assistance to the district in the future, please do not hesitate to reach out to my office. Once again, congratulations and best wishes for the remainder of the year. Scott Fitzgerald, member of Congress.
Excellent. Student art purchase.
Yes, so I want to just take a moment. You see up there on the board, I believe Ray is here, right? I thought I saw her walk in. Is she back there? Okay. And then Riley Wolf. Both are art pieces that were purchased. Ray's is going to be displayed at the senior at the high school, and Riley Wolf's is here. Ray's is noted Blues Symphony, and that's going to be on display up at the high school. Congratulations, Ray. It was purchased, and then Riley Wolf's Out of the Hat will be displayed here in the boardroom. So congratulations, and thank you for letting us purchase your art. We really appreciate it.
All right, then announcing our 2024 Distinguished Alumni Award recipient.
Okay. we have a little presentation, but I want to first acknowledge that our recipient for this year is Carla Mullen. Carla, will you please come up? We've got a little gift for you. There you go. Thank you very much. And Melissa Lampy has pulled together some information for us.
Where would you like us to be?
Why don't you come right up here? So,
To anyone.
don't worry, you will. No matter where you stand, unless you're back over here. Okay. It takes a minute, so
Okay.
sometimes it disconnects. Go ahead.
I'm gonna turn it on.
That's your.
I must have turned it off. I thought I turned it on. I hate it. Everybody in this room knows I hate that thing. See?
There we go. Okay, so we are here this evening to honor Carla Mullen. And it is my pleasure, as someone who has known Carla for years and considers her a great friend, to be able to read this tribute. So Carla Johnson Mullen was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota. She's a 1960 Watertown High School graduate, and after living here for 8 years, moved back to Minneapolis right after graduation. After 16 years, she returned to Watertown after she and her husband purchased Mullen Dairy. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree and a Master of Education degree from Carroll University. With her degree, Carla taught English and Social Studies at Watertown High School for almost 20 years. Prior to teaching in Watertown, she also taught in Mukwonago, Chicago, and Mount Vernon, Illinois. Carla has had significant professional accomplishments and contributed extensively to the Watertown community. She has earned many awards for teaching, including the Mercy Foundation Teaching Award, Lawrence University Outstanding Teaching in Wisconsin Award, 2000 Governor's Humanities Award, and the WCTELA, which is Wisconsin Council of Teachers of English Language Arts Lucille Pooley Award. She was also recognized as a Cole Foundation Fellow and was the first high school English teacher in Wisconsin to earn National Board certification. So Carla connected with and inspired many students through her innovative teaching style. She also mentored numerous young teachers, helping them to have the confidence and the courage to try innovative instructional strategies and to make a difference for the students of Watertown High School. She, along with a colleague, established the symbolic International Peace Garden at Watertown High School, which welcomes every person who comes to the high school. After her retirement in 2002, Carla designed and pilot the Watertown Unified School District Teacher Mentoring Program. She served on the Board of Governance for Endeavor Charter School and continued to volunteer working with students in the district. In addition, Carla worked as a consultant for other school districts, helping to support new teachers, providing mentoring for teaching, teachers seeking national board certification, and facilitating the development of high-quality curriculum. Are you loving all these old pictures? Carla and her husband Bill ran the iconic business Mullen's Dairy Bar for 20 years. She has served on many local and state boards, including the Wisconsin Humanities, Wisconsin Poet Laureate Commission, Watertown Health Foundation, Watertown Hospital Board. And through these boards, Carla has helped to ensure literacy, education, and health services and programs reach more people. So Carla and her husband Bill reside in Watertown. They have 3 children. Tiffany, a family practice physician who lives in Shorewood. William, a college administrator with a PhD who lives in Portland, Oregon. Drew, an English teacher at University School of Milwaukee and lives in Bayside. And Carla and Bill have 8 grandchildren. So this time we want to congratulate Carla. We are so happy to honor you.
Any words for us, Carla?
Me too.
No, I am just astonished and deeply grateful and honored. It's been a great run. I'm still volunteering in high school at age 82. I mean, there's something wrong. It's frustrating. Okay, thank you. Welcome, Jeffrey.
All right, thank you for that. Now we will move on to our strategic discussion. The first item on the agenda for that is our dual language update.
So my name is Ashley Pyrick. I'm here tonight to give a dual language update. I do this about once a year in addition to updating as well. So if you can scroll down to the next, there we go. So first, because we do have some new school board members, I wanted to go back to why we implemented dual language in the first place. We started the planning process in 2011. It's been a while. So our purpose was to improve and enhance learning outcomes for our multilingual learners. And when we dove into the research, specifically of Thomas and Collier, we found that best practice for achievement or increasing achievement for our dual language or our multilingual learners was dual language. So after choosing that program, we developed some goals, which were to provide equity by closing the opportunity and achievement gap, to become biliterate, bilingual, and bicultural, and to develop globally minded citizens in a safe and engaging learning environment. So also, the state does have a bilingual education requirement. And that was another consideration that we had when we were looking at improving outcomes for our multilingual learners. So I did quote some of the legislation, and then I do have the state statute linked in my document, which is in the agenda if you'd like to look at it further. But there are established trigger numbers for districts, and once districts meet those trigger numbers, they are required to implement bilingual education in their district. So for students in grades kindergarten through third grade, that number is 10 students who speak the same language. For grades 4th through 8th grade, it's 20 students. And for grades 9 through 12, it's also 20 students. So looking at our own enrollment here in Watertown, we have 241 multilingual learners or English learners in our district, and 216 of them are Spanish speaking. And then I broke it down by those grade level bands. So again, for kindergarten through third grade, the state trigger number is 10. We currently have 73 students. For 4th through 8th, that state trigger number was 20, and we have 82 students. And for 9th grade through 12th, the state number is 20, and we have 61 students. So we definitely, there is a high need in our district for bilingual education, and we are meeting that need by having a dual language program in our district. So I also included some dual language enrollment numbers just to keep you updated. So at Schurz, that is our elementary building. Right now we have 149 students in dual language. Right now we have 2 sections in grades kindergarten and first that will roll up to second, and then 1 section in grades 2 through 5. So those 5th graders will be going to the middle school. Next year we will have 1 section for 3rd through 5th grade. At the middle school, we have 50 students in dual language right now. And then I broke it down with how many are currently a multilingual learner or an EL, how many have exited EL services, and then how many students are not English language learners. And then at the high school, we also have 50 students. We have 22 students in ninth grade and 28 students in 10th grade. So we will be rolling up and our students will be in 11th grade next year. So almost all the way through the program. And then I just wanted to touch on bilingual bicultural funding. So in general, our general curriculum funds, that's where a majority of the funding for comes from. But then we have two other supplementary sources. One is Title III, which I think a lot of you may be familiar with. And then one that's newer for our district, that we specifically qualify for through our dual language program and teacher certifications that we have, is the bilingual bicultural funding. And so that is reimbursement funding that we are able to use for teacher salaries who are appropriately licensed and any material specific for dual language programming. So in the 22-23 school year, we were able to receive a little over $56,000 back to the district. And for the 23-24 school year, we were granted a little over $60,000 back to the district for having that program. And so then just with future planning, we are in a very good spot this year compared to where we were a year ago with our staffing. Right now, we are fully staffed for the upcoming school year. A year ago, we were not in that position. So that is really great news. However, we will continue to focus on staffing because it is a hard to fill area. Again, as I mentioned, at SURES, we're going to continue with that two-teacher model. It will be implemented in grades kindergarten through second grade for the upcoming school year. And with a new administrator in the building, we will be working on looking at programming and then building partnerships with our two-teacher model in grades kindergarten through second, as well as looking at what biliteracy looks like within the requirements of Act 20 compliance as well. And then at the high school, I mentioned this also earlier, our first cohort is moving into 11th grade, and we will be implementing our second AP course, which is AP Spanish Literature, and that will be offered in addition to our AP Language and Culture. And that's it, unless anybody has any questions.
All right, not seeing any, thank you.
In the breakdown you had, I think it was slide number 5, you talked about how there are 32 in it, 7 have exited. I'm looking at Riverside just as a random one, and then 11 not. So 7 means they've kind of like graduated out of it, so to speak.
They've graduated out of English language learner services. So dual language is one of the service models that you can use to support your multilingual learners. So in our district, we have some who have opted into dual language and some who get integrated ESL services. And once they have a certain level of achievement on the WIDA access test, then they are exited out of those. So that's just showing those students who have reached that level of achievement who have now been dismissed from their EL staff.
Okay. And then what does not EL mean?
So not EL would be a student who came from an English speaking home who is learning Spanish.
Questions? All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the Lebanon LEAP programming update.
We have the slideshow first.
Yes, we have both and start, then do the data. One second.
Okay, I could think of no other better way to say this than show and tell. Because I think of the challenge I have for my students when we do community circle at morning meetings, and I think, hey, just say one thing for the weekend, and they go on and on and on and on. That's kind of how we feel, but we're gonna try to tie it up. It's really quick. So we're here from Leap Elementary to just kind of show you what's been going on over the past 2 years. We've put a lot of work in, and we're out here to share it with you. So I'm Melissa Prohaska. I teach grade 2 and 3 out there, and it'll be my 3rd year at Leap, my 25th in the district this coming year.
I'm Lisa Purple. I teach K1 at Leaf Elementary. This is my 6th year there.
Robert Stock, teach for the 5th grade Leap Elementary. Well, today's my anniversary. You guys. No, current anniversary too. We're not married.
It's also Jason Bull's anniversary and my youngest birthday.
Yeah.
It's a good day.
And I'm Erin Both. I'm a special ed teacher.
So we wanted to begin by sharing some of the accomplishments at Leaf Elementary. Our Leaf Pollinator Garden is a popular hotspot. It's in the front of our campus, and it was created through donations of time and plants that were brought into the area. We have used it as an opportunity for kids to plant seeds, talk about the changes that are happening, phenology. We talk about what's happening not only in the pollinator garden, but on the entire campus all year, decomposition, prediction, changes. What do you think caused that? What can we do to make things different, better? In the lower left-hand corner, you can also see a sign that designates that is a certified schoolyard pollinator garden. So pretty proud of that, and the kids are very excited to say that they planted those plants. They were part of that, and they love watching the changes and saying, I was a big part of that happening.
That was started with a grant from the National Resource of Wisconsin, and really was cost-free to us because the plants were bought with the grant and the school family supported it, so it was fundraised that way. But just seeing the change in that from last year to this year too has been really exciting for the kids. They learn not just, yay, this is the pollinator garden, but the importance of pollinators. They can, at lunchtime, pick out the foods that came from pollinators and why they are important to us.
And that leads into other accomplishments. In the center at the top, we have our outdoor classroom area. It was space before. Now it's a place where we can come together, we can talk about what we notice, what we see, what we hear, what we smell sometimes, just different flowers. It's an amazing place to notice, take stock in what's happening. Also, we can notice what's happening around us regarding weather. What is today, what's happening, what season is it? Also, upper right, we have an example of kids working at that space. Some are sitting, you can notice some are kneeling down on the ground, doing what they need to do, what they want to do. That hands-on interaction is so powerful. In the lower right, you can see Mr. Stocks working on the whiteboard. Kids outside watching, listening, different places where they're sitting, interacting with each other. Making amazing things happen.
Sometimes I might have a friend who needs a little break, do something a little different, and it's another space, but we can take them. We can go look for bugs. We can count the stumps. We can move things around. Just another opportunity to get kids outside and give them maybe movement or.
It is a great classroom management tool too. If you've lost your interest, you go outside, you learn in the sunshine. And speaking of sunshine, our next initiative that you can use it when it is not this one.
So here we've got our pumpkin patch, and we've got the garden with wildflowers out there. Kids plant the seeds, they harvest fall when we come back to school. Checking on everything, and we can add in, Here we've got a little library, which has become popular with a lot of kids. Sometimes, some of the students that I work with, you can go out there, pick a book. I may read it to them, they may have pictures, we may talk about it, just another easy way to take a break in the day. The chicken run is big, that's new. The chickens love it, and the kids absolutely love going out there. It's an easy way for us to increase engagement in so many ways. I have students that will see me walking in the hall and they'll say, can we go out and see the chickens today? And depending upon the student, some of them I'm like, well, let's see how your morning goes, and then we can go see the chickens for lunch. Other students, it's something that they definitely need to do, and we'll go out. Taking care of the chickens, making sure they have water, food, learning empathy, just social skills, going out with peers, taking turns, daily living skills, practicing all that. It's amazing how much you can build in to taking care of chickens.
There's also the composting day. There didn't really have a picture for you, but that was an important science lesson. We also used it here. We were generously given a composter by our PTO, and the kids learned a lot about what that does. But when we started using it, we actually did it in paper, in the plastic bags, and how it was happening. So we do have students in charge of that. They've taken a lot of ownership over lunchtime, knowing what's composted, what we can reduce our waste with. We then use that compost when we plant our garden. And Mr. Stocks, you want to share about the apple tree?
We put them last year. Some research on how the kids, all they, pollinate each other. I'm pretty excited. There's actually some apples going on right now. Hoping I may someday get some maple trees and syrup out of it too. Something I did this year, school years ago. Pretty exciting.
So my very own Karen had said, that's great, but what about school? So just as a reminder, we're still following the curriculum that the rest of the elementary schools do in town, but we can lend our science and our agriculture into those. So, for instance, I was thinking, it was a big deal that we celebrated our chicken's first birthday, which seems really hokey, but really it's a celebration of what we've all learned from that experience through the whole year, starting with when we had eggs and we hatched them, and we went over temperatures and the incubation period and the timeline. And then what it took to raise those chickens and give them a safe home and to raise them. And so you can see throughout the year, we went from studying the eggs and hatching them to the chickens themselves, to their habitat. We compared the farm to table. So how do our eggs look here? How do the eggs look at the store? What's the difference? We went through that model. The kids have healthy snacks from them, and they love that we have that right from our own school. So they've had scrambled eggs we've made together, hard-boiled eggs, and egg salad, all kinds of things. But then going back to professional development, several times this year, our presenters have said to bring the joy back to learning, and that's what these hands-on experiences have done with our kids. It's one thing to learn about it from a book, but another thing to learn about it from the experience, hands-on with the animals, with the digging in the dirt, and joy back. You can see in the bottom corner, that was Hen's first birthday, and there she sits on their table as they're doing their work, and they just love it. So it's been fun learning all these things.
I think it was our original chicken. She had a bunch of brothers we couldn't keep, so we had to rehatch some earlier this year. So these
They went to the rooster farm.
they were chasing this and that. We were over there.
Yes, it is. Okay, so on this slide, you can see, it just gives an example of how we can use all the seasons for place-based learning. For example, the one picture in the corner, you can see the kids, there's a snowboard run. They were able to, snowboards during recess, and then at halftime, they could go off. Like here again, using those snowboards. Super engaging, kids love it, and they don't mind going outside in the snow. Sometimes they don't.
The other pictures up there, we really learned a lot about place-based learning and utilizing the extent of school space we have. What you can see them doing is first they're measuring the temperature inside by a light bulb to see which way their tool is turning. And then we went outside and did the same thing, and they utilized the entire schoolyard in the winter, measuring above concrete and the concrete playground or above the snow, and how it changed that tool. They're also in the greenhouse down there. And then they contour map that. Plus we have. So that was a fun experience to learn outside as well. And kind of proves there's no bad weather, just bad clothing.
That's like this an example of something on the bottom right. It's in the continents. And they something talking about pumpkins are completely circular. The probably used to the middle school. This workers probably not able to do pumpkins. That's maybe, but first year I got some from they gave me a bunch of pumpkins to use for students, but the years after, kids actually plant the seeds in the spring. Fall some of it earlier in the year and being able to actually not just make the globe and learn on it too, but actually the pumpkin itself is one to actually plant itself.
My students are up in the corner and just utilizing some of the things, the lessons we practiced in math, numeracy, or doing multiplication and division, and they painted it on stepping stones. Garden. They love going to those. Remember, we swear it's 3 rows, three columns, and oh, this is nice. Ownership of what they made, using it for math. On the bottom left-hand corner, that was after we cleaned up our garden and put it to rest for the winter. They came inside and skip counted, and they did groups of 10 with seed to do multiplication facts and different arrays with the seed there too. So we utilize all the natural things we have in our school year as well. In the top left-hand corner, again, students, it's very student-centered with the garden. In the raised garden beds, the students vote on what they want to plant, they plant it, they grow it, and they actually get to eat it at lunch too, which is a really great way to have kids eat different healthy foods. When they grow it, they want to eat it.
The butterflies were an amazing activity, watching the caterpillars eat and change into that J shape, creating the cocoon, waiting and anticipating when that beautiful butterfly might emerge. And then we predicted that, and then we released them. It was a big celebration outside on the playground. We talked about the life cycle. We talk about life cycles of many different things, plants and animals. And this was a neat way for them to show that they can contribute to bringing animals into the world and releasing them to do their important work.
So all these ideas are just, it shows how we can use our regular curriculum, but blend the agriculture to. So we're really proud of how much we've collaborated with others, not only within our school, but with the community. And so worthy projects like the Watertown Garden Project, we received and donated it to their plant club that they in turn have supported us by giving some of the materials that we can use to learn from. We've reached out to area businesses, and Wilders came into our school to work with our kids and make thank you gifts for some of our parents that have reached out and given us a lot of things. We had local businesses like Jason with 5-Star. They completely cut the fat and
in the area and our be so valuable to us. And then we like to support our student council, goes out of its way to make certain projects to help others in the community too. So it's important to support others in the community, and then in turn, we've made great partners that support our school as well.
The circle was good. It was right behind day too. They did a good math lesson. That's the best side right there. The chicken coop, I won in the middle, it was really put that way, we moved around a little bit, but hence realized chickens were on loose, they started going to neighbors' yards and stuff, so we had a donation that gave us those chicken runs we put together. Had a kind of a week family work day. It was interesting, even some of my students in class, both their parents and grandparents were helping out, moving mulch, pulling weeds, and found a good way to actually move the chicken coop into the chicken run. Kelly Gifford, that former student, she's been a something in this district. Her dad, Tim Gifford, retired. They both came or open that day. And seen him since he retired, but he actually tore his pants a little bit putting that netting down. So you're always a teacher, so I figured I should join him and also with my pants putting on as well. Many, is that fifth grade? Also, I was actually gone and came back. But we had people there and got a lot of work done in a couple of hours. So all kinds of projects were all the way to the back. We planted stuff in the garden.
Actually, we planned a couple hours, but our families are pretty invested because they're up at 9:30 tonight, so it's pretty amazing.
I love before Oh, yeah, Mrs. Johnson's dog, I found her a couple of times, but, I actually took my students to high school and saw some of their animals and got, we're doing baby lambs now. The last couple of years, we call Leave Palooza, the high school comes and kind of helps us out with our activities. They also, that came and did a story on Lebanon when that FFA came and did all kinds of teaching on Earth Day celebration. So that they came twice to our school, we went once by them, so those students, work with our students at least 3 separate occasions, really helpful. I think it's good for the high school kids too, to have that experience.
And they were phenomenal. And then, you know, we are very fortunate to have gotten 2 grants from the Watertown Educational Foundation, and in turn, we have praised them and thanked them, and our families have supported them. We had a lot of participation from our school as well. So it's nice that we're both supporting each other. And then on the other side, it's just some examples of how it could be a deficit for our school where Scholastic Book Club wouldn't come and give us the book fair because we couldn't guarantee the sales. So we flipped it and made it a great opportunity because we're about the environment and agriculture. We had a youth book fair, and, you know, show that we can repurpose those and not build the landfill. It was fun to do that. The kids were excited. And just helping out our families and our community. We had that open to all of the area around Lebanon, Winter Kids Clothing Swap. We wanted to make sure the kids had the things they needed and promoting that sustainability model since we are environmentally focused. So marketing, we know that we always want to increase enrollment across the district, especially at LEAP. And so we've really worked hard on our school be seen in fun ways. Our student council purchased our school that full garden cart, and we sold pumpkins, we didn't sell. We asked for donation, and other produce. That was a huge success for our school. And we've been busy over the summer showing up at picnic or places where we can promote our school, doing a presentation or getting handouts. We worked in the curb appeal, making people want to look at our school, see the interesting things that are going on. We've been fortunate to have a couple of families enroll after being a presence at the Children's Day Fair the last couple of years, and turning some of those asks where we're begging for materials into a fun event. So when we were getting ready to have the chicks hatch at our school, we had a baby chick show. Why not? And we did get some of those materials thinking outside the box. And then lastly, we were really fortunate also to be a part of a grant with DPI that involved educators and organizations from throughout the state. And we have been the kickoff site for that
last year, and then we're going to be doing it again this year. So it really promotes our school and our district. Too far. So with our professional development, outside of what we get from the district, comes to the environmental and agricultural portion of our school. We were really grateful to have Sandy Bedford from Field Adventures give us a lot of mentoring, using our place to get the kids out there, what we can do with them, not being afraid to go out in any kind of weather, any season. She also took us to conferences where we networked with people across the continent. Lisa and I were lucky to go to the North American Monarch Institute at the UW Arboretum, which was so engaging. It was very neat to see people from Mexico that have never seen a chrysalis or milkweed or a caterpillar. They only see the monarch, so it was really neat. We learned a lot there, networked with a lot of people. And then again, on the right, it's when we had the kickoff date for that grant, and just educators from throughout the state and organizations. And, you know, we feel like we're just getting things moving at LEAP, but to see them walk around their schoolyard and say, you know, it makes you realize what we have here. So what? I put this together because I think back to what I told you about professional development at the beginning of the year about bringing the joy to learning, and looking at these pictures, I feel like we've done that. I mean, we have our animals, and they're not just, oh, look at those cute animals. Look at that snake. Look at that. The kids learn from them, from social emotional lessons to science to writing. These kids read to them sometimes at the beginning of their literacy skills, and they're happy to do it. And you can't argue with those. But I think more than anything, that extends to us too. It makes us joyful to do what we do out there. It's been wonderful to teach them the way that we do.
Pretty cool to eat eggs of chicken that you saw hatch. And they're still there. We take turns to let them out and put them away. And pick some larvae and strawberries to come with. Still hot and had a storm, so.
Robert didn't want a classroom pet, and now we walk by, he's talking over singing to his rabbit.
Yes, and thank you.
I don't like that.
So I hope we didn't speak too long. We hope that and thanks for letting us share. You and for letting us have a school like this. It's been great to work here.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Questions, board members? No.
Thank you for,
Next on the agenda, they just made my job really, really easy. We have another report that we have to provide the board with. Just on an update to the educational plan at LEAP. And so I'm gonna go really quickly through the slides once Tyler gets them up. And it's gonna be just for more information, but the reason I'm going to be giving this presentation for you is because it aligns to the plan that was written and supported by proposal 8899 in in February of 24th, 2020. And so if you're wondering, well, why is you're giving us this information? Back in 2020, the board asked that we give an update on the plan over 5 years. We're coming to the end of that, and I asked for guidance earlier this spring, late winter, early spring, as to what they were looking for, how I should be going about giving information. So that's what this presentation entails. So, there's, basically, 5 slides here that I need to go through with you. The number one portion, that they had us discuss was the development of a curriculum and acquisition of materials to support environmental education focus. So again, back to February of 2020, there was an initiative that said, we want you to develop a curriculum, acquire some materials, and support educational environment. Some of the district supported events that have happened since then, they touched base on, getting the, different animals, the incubator, looking at some of the outdoor outlets and activities. But then also on the right-hand side, you can see what staff, families, and communities, did to contribute even more into that space. And we can go over again some of those with you, but working with the Education Foundation for Watertown grants, for materials, like the weather station equipment that they have there, materials for gardening, composting, working with different other people, for, things like chicken feed, and other things. They're all up there, and I'll give you just a minute to read through them. And if you have any questions, you can ask questions of all of us. We'll move on to the next phase. Any question about what's happened over the last few years with some of the development of curriculum, acquisition of materials, making it towards an environmental focused building? We saw a lot of data that shares during a short period of time. Then next, we were supposed to bring back some information about necessary investments in the building and grounds for the next 5 years. So the Lebanon plan proposal is developed, prepared by the Lebanon planning team. We don't know if that was in 2019 or 2020. It wasn't a date on the information that we had. But they focused on immediate needs for the 2021 school year were security cameras, to seal the lot driveway. And then capital needs for 21 through 26 were library air conditioning, LED light upgrades. Outside lights were updated, sealed playground, roofing, and resurfaced lot / driveway. The items in yellow were completed, the rest of them have not yet been completed, but they were part of the plan that was proposed. In addition to that, the district investments not listed on the proposal or plan include, we put electrical outlets to the exterior of the school, in the front entryway. We had chicken coop, and things that were needed in that area. Our crew helped out with getting that stuff ready. Other investments that were completed by staff, families, and students were the pollinator gardens, outdoor learning space area, and the others that are listed there. Peruse them, and if you have any questions, we're here to answer questions. The next part focused on marketing to attract new students not currently enrolled in the district. We had some district support, especially most recently, since Melissa Lampy started working as our communications expert. We've seen an increase presence on social media out there, and we believe that that's been very helpful. You heard also from LEAP staff that they are marketing in many ways out to their families and out to the Lebanon greater community, as to the things that they attend and look at doing. You can see that also on the right-hand side, what LEAP staff, families, and community are doing to market that as an environmental, agricultural based school institution. Any questions?
Just a comment. I appreciate that you kept the goalposts. I'd like to see you market that a little better to get some place kickers moving on to high school again. But, hey,
Next part was pursuit of grants and fundraising to support new programming and buildings and grounds improvement. There was in the plan a sidelined amount of dollars that were available for them to access. It was $40,000 in PD curriculum. That money to date hasn't been accessed. I don't know for sure what account it's in. That's a part of the discussion point. But what I've shared with them is it doesn't make a difference. Let us know. What do you want? What are you looking for, and how can we find a way to put the professional development and curriculum together? And we'll talk about that a little bit on the next slide about future plans and what they're looking to do. But many things have been put into place with many sponsors, whether it was Piggly Wiggly or FFA alumni or other places. You can see them up there on the board. Educational Foundation again, helping with stuff. But there's many ways in which they've worked towards the curriculum and professional development through those sponsors. And we have a really solid plan moving into next year. Lastly, we focused on the planning for LEAP's future. That's this slide. I feel like we're having a little bit of a correction. We had 51 students 2 years ago, 51 students this last year, and we're planning on 66 approximate enrollments for the next school year. The reason we know that is we have a number of families from Lebanon Lutheran who are choosing to move over into our agricultural school that they're seeing up there. And we've had many family visits and tours of the facility and parents who've already looked to sign up for next year. Hopes and dreams, staff continue to pursue some grants and look to market the school even further. They'd like to have some summer curriculum time to attract families to leave. And develop a deeper and stronger curriculum. They're gonna need some time, professional development days, and connections to others. I put them on a lead or a connection to our 4-H program, a state program specialist at state of Wisconsin, and some other people that we can look at to help with that environmental program. But that's the big focus this next year. And so look at how we can even continue to make stronger connections to the professional development. And so all I have to add as an update is if there's anything else that you have questions about, or I could fill you in on, or what you would like to see more of, please let me.
All right, 4 board members. Just as a reminder, this came forward to the board in our earlier this year in the March meeting. We discussed Leap Elementary. There was a discussion at that time around timing and such with this. And I will go back to the minutes from that meeting. Remember that resolution 8899 was put in place in February of 2020. And I'll reference that here in a minute. At the board meeting, the time the board did not envision a set forth. So there was discussion around what to do with Lebanon. Then board president Arnett said that from a historical perspective that the board approved an initial 5-year period, which we did in the 8899. At the time, the board did not envision or set forth a plan to call for Lebanon to be closed for this fall, 2020, this fall. From his perspective, it was never on the table. The board president Arnett said he went on to state that what it called for was to go through the 24-25 school year and make plans for what to do after that. The intent was for the superintendent to come to the board a year ahead of the 24-25 school year and tell the board where they think it is. We discussed this, and it was determined in March that Dr. Berkier should ensure that the enactment of plan steps 1 through 4 in resolution 8899 have been achieved or are in place, which is what we are here tonight. He also reviewed the LEAP plan with Principal Marquette, LEAP staff and administration. He's going to share his findings with the Ed Services Committee. I will go back to resolution 8899, which was from February of 2020. It states, be it resolved that the Watertown Unified School District Board of Education directs the WSD administration to enact the proposed plan for Lebanon School, Elementary School to pursue a program centered on environmental education. This plan builds on Lebanon Elementary School's strengths as a unique learning environment within the WSD and is intended to make Lebanon Elementary a contributor to the growth of the district. The enactment of the plan shall include, these are the 4 steps that Dr. Burke was, as we said, are achieved or are in place. Number 1, development of the curriculum and acquisition of materials to support the environmental education focus. Number 2, necessary investment in the building and grounds for the next 5 years. Number 3, marketing to attract new students not currently enrolled in the district. Number 4, pursuit of grants and fundraising to support the new program and building grounds improvements. And so be it further resolved that the intended launch date for the new program then with the 21-22 school year, 2022 school year, the WSD is committed to this course of action for the next 5 years. This was again in February of 2020. And shall revisit it no later than 23-24 school year to determine any change of direction. The conclusion of the initial 5-year period, which reading this, I would say will be 20. At the end of this coming school year would be the initial 5-year period and determine any change in direction. Again, in the meeting that we decided that, and so Dr. Burke is ensuring the enactment of plan steps 1 through 4, which were on the slides he presented here tonight. Any questions or comments from board members related to this? I know there were some questions.
Thank you for that, kind of bringing it together for us and everything like that. And that's just very helpful. So this is the update, and then 2025 is where do we have action then from the resolution as far as like process?
So what the resolution states is that we are committed for the next 5 years. So that would be, as in reading this, because 2020 through the 24-25 school year. So in the next school year, we're committed to 5 years. It does not say anything. It says that the board is to determine any change in direction at the conclusion of the initial 5-year period. So the action would be at the end of the 24-25 school year, the board would make a determination if any action needs to be made to change the direction. If the board is fine with the direction, we can continue with things as we move forward, correct?
Is that adequate time to either the public staff at that school should a change have to occur?
Well, we don't set forth the time period for that change. So if the board determines that a change needs to be made as part and parcel with that, I would say that they have to determine the timeframe within that change. Not, hey, we're locking the doors and you're gonna find a new place next fall. We're gonna have to figure out how that goes and, lean on Dr. Burke and the rest of the administration to figure out, okay, if we are gonna present a change, what does the board looking forward for this change? What's a reasonable amount of time we would want to put that change in place if needed?
So feasibly, what we're concluding then is that it's really the end of 2025 plus 1.
No, the end of 2020, the end of the 24-25 school year. So next year, the end of this next coming school year will be at, well, and I would say if you really want to parse this out, because this was the February 2020, rather than this resolution was put in place, we have a 5-year plan. We make the argument that in February of 2025, we could bring this up. But I would say at that point, we would likely want to start that discussion. We would run out the rest of the school year. Diana?
And that leads to my point or my question is there's a runner that's involved. And right now, the information presented here shows great progress and things that have been done over the past 4 years, being that there hasn't been really dissension among them. It looks like we're on a good pathway. So I guess my question is, are we gonna meet before February to do another evaluation check, services or something, or wait until February and then decisions made? Just so there's a little guidance going in, because right now, we're not giving any guidance as to this needs to improve, this needs to be better. As they exit the room, they're thinking, hey, there was no comment, I'm not speaking for you, sorry. My impression would be that there's no guidance from the board, therefore we're on the right track, therefore we don't have reason to believe that there would be any reasons to change from the curricular standpoint. Obviously, financial and other things, but to account that. So summing it up, are we gonna do something prior to February to give them some guidance one way or the other, or is it just February?
Jared?
I would just share that we're also embarking on a much larger facilities topic within our school district. We had a facilities done by PRA. We're at the initial stages of that. The board met with them last Monday and asked them to, they set guideposts, asked them to, also set up times to meet with and get information back from the community. And I know that whatever we do, with any one school, is going to be wrapped into a discussion point about all schools through our future planning for all of our facilities. So I also don't want to just say, we need to stay myopic on this. We probably need to make sure that we're putting up our vision for all buildings in our district as to what are we doing with all buildings. Yes, we still need to continue the discussion on this one that started a number of years ago. I'm not saying, we shouldn't do that or honor what it is, the boards that we've had in the past, and the community discussions that we've had in the past around that facility, to go away. They just need to be wrapped into a larger discussion about what are we doing, to educate our students in the future with all of our buildings.
David?
Which I guess I'd say is that even if staff, administration, board, teachers, children achieved every single thing they set out to achieve 5 years ago, the PRA study and our decision regarding infrastructure could easily trump that. That doesn't mean the programming can't be moved. It's great curriculum and it's great investment and what have you, but ultimately it may not be relevant aside from the fact that they made it through the 5 years, proved that it was worth keeping, but PRA study and our decision regarding how to best run the district looking forward may result in Lebanon being one of the buildings that's no longer open. And we have to be aware of it. There's nothing that they do in the next 10 months that's going to protect that decision, or that's going to be protected from that decision. From the way that I understand it.
I will also add this, just because, sometimes people hear just one side of the story. It may also be that the decision of the board is, it's great and it's great property. Let's add out there and make it even bigger. Yeah, so I don't want anybody thinking that, any one board member's comments are leading one way or
I'm
another.
just saying they're independent of each other.
Right, exactly, right.
Per your question, Diana, reading the resolution from 2020, it set forth specific steps and a time frame, 5-year time frame, and specific steps that had to be enacted. Jared ran through those 4 steps. We can take a motion on whether or not he did those steps adequately, but I'm getting general acceptance, I think, from the board here that, what was presented tonight, tick the boxes on these, right? And then at the 2025 mark, we can have the discussion. This conveniently rolls into our larger discussion, as David brought up, about, the facilities plan, the demographics plan will lay into this, as well as the other things. It's part of the discussion. It's just, we had a plan that we set out 5 years ago from Lebanon. We didn't have a paperwork like this for the other schools, but we're all within that. Hey, what are we looking at as we move forward from 2025 on? Correct.
Was there some sort of a quantitative data component of, dealing with that?
The only quantitative part was the enrollment that we shared with you. The rest of it was all qualitative, and, I really leaned on the staff. Tell me more about what's happened over the last number of years. They helped us compile all the information.
And to be honest, as the resolution states, it says the enactment of the plan shall include, and here are 4 things that they shall include. It's a matter of, is no, in the resolution, there's nothing that says it has to include this and how much, or what is the resulting of that? It just says, did you do these 4 things? Which Jared presented here tonight.
Well, sure. There are a number of quantitative data sets out there now that the PRA has put together. Basically, the 2 booklets, the one on the educational, effectiveness of that environment, as well as the environment itself, its equipment, the facility itself. Cost per child to maintain that facility, all of that is in that document, as well as that same information on all of our other buildings. So we have a lot of data now to look at, frankly, that's even quantitative.
Yeah.
Regarding the increase of 15 students for next year, did they come from outside the district?
No, like I shared, we feel that most of them are gonna be coming from Lebanon Lutheran. And moving on.
But outside of it?
They're not.
They're not currently enrolled, right?
All right, any other questions?
Just a comment, I really appreciate like what the staff, like what the staff and what you've done out there and taking the, you really took that mission seriously as far as developing the curriculum and seeking out all those resources and bringing people together and building community and, okay, I might even be convinced to, go play outside in the snow if I could build a fort and, then I have to use it for math. But just, being creative, because I know that takes, extra effort, extra time and things like that. So thank you for that.
All right.
I wanted to say thank you for the school partnership community. It sounds like it has been on leaps and bounds. And also the involvement we've had with the school, with the students that are there. Yeah, she referenced my kids, but I also work with the other high school kids that are going through the leadership things, and Taylor Teets and other students that are actually thinking of becoming teachers because of what started at Lee. They created that school day out there. They developed the curriculum. They taught the curriculum. So there's bigger things that are happening than just what's happened. They shared the connection with the middle school, the connection with the high school. It's really awesome to see it full scale.
And I guess I will make, one thing I will make mention of this is that this is a tremendous program. And a program is not bounded by its location. We understand the benefits in Lebanon and everything like this, but there's a program that, we see how the benefit of this at the high school. We wanted to make sure that this continues to grow wherever, whatever any future decision. Right.
I will say that.
All right, anything else? All right, moving on. Next is the report. First up is the superintendent report and board committee summary.
That's Jared speaking again.
And there's two been watching fumble with the remote.
Not to deal with that. Hey, I did pretty good in the last one, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah, I just did. All right. So we have some pictures of graduation up there. Got some recent comments from our community about the WHS graduation. And the comments I got were, did you know that there were eCampus kids and Endeavor kids there too? Should we continue to call it our WHS graduation? I said, that's something for educational services to think about later on. So just wanted to let you know, I got some of that feedback. Also.
Communications director.
No, whenever we get feedback, right, say something, right? Congratulations to the Watertown High School class of 2024. We had almost 300 students graduate with us. Again, that wasn't just Watertown High School. Some of those were Endeavor students as well as e-campus students. When you take into effect the 300. This year's graduating class includes 3 valedictorians, Lucy Hickey, Jacob Johnson, and Ava Roberts, were our valedictorians this year. Many seniors were recognized, and overall, it was just a great day. There's a lot of statistics out on our Facebook page for that day, post from Tuesday, June 11th. Also, we had some celebrations, the WUSD Extended Leadership Team, which is not only our building principals, but everybody who serves as supervisor and works together to have this happen. That's buildings and grounds, nutrition services, so on. All met on what we call our extended cabinet day. That's a day that we take some stock over what happened throughout the year. We do some reflection, not only reflection over the year, but do some self-reflection about our leadership and what our why is and what we want to project moving forward. But we also talked a lot about what's gonna be the important things that we're working over the summer to get us prepared for next year. Sarah Outenhoven did a great thing for us. She all brought us in a Kona ice truck. She won as part of an opportunity that she had taken place personally. So that was great to have that charitable fundraiser win come to support all of us. Thank you very much. I know that everybody appreciated that. There we go. RMS held their final Avid Family Night for the first graduating group of students. Or is this the most recent group of students that you had this year? I didn't look at it. But it bears to say that the first graduating group of students went through, and we had, I believe, 17 Avid graduates that were announced at graduation. Not names announced, but that number. 17.
We're gonna be seniors.
What's that?
I believe we're gonna be seniors this year.
Oh, we had some graduate this year.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
From Riverside, my apologies.
Yes, at the high school. I'm talking about
You're right.
the first Avid group we started.
Right.
But we had a number of people there. I believe Lori Howard was there.
All right.
At least I was told. But I will tell you, the teachers were buzzing about at the last family picnic day. And we weren't able to put this out on our social media, but I wanted to make sure that we. I had a chance to help do the kickoff meeting at the beginning of the year. It's a wonderful group of students and families. And over the course of the year, I guess it got figured out, so. Opportunities. WSD held its second community strategic work planning session this last Thursday. We had about 15 more people there than there were in attendance on the first one. I didn't get to compare the two because the first one I was out, had a little bit longer dental surgery than I wanted and was not in a position to come to the meeting that night. But I appreciate what I heard from the first meeting. And I also appreciate some of the things I heard from the second meeting. I appreciate everybody who spoke tonight too about the pros and cons and what they're thinking about as we move forward. I shared this as my comments to everybody, which is our job as a public school is to hear all of those voices on both sides of that topic or those issues and say, how can we figure a way to navigate the closest to the most of those voices as we continue to move forward. And anytime our school district can engage in this, I know that we bring both ends of the spectrum closer when it's about kids. So we'll continue that work. PRA gave a high level overview of the facilities condition assessment. Some of you in the room, if you were there, saw it for the 5th time. I appreciate your going through that activity, but remember that there are people in our community who saw it for the first time. And as you see it the 12th or 13th or 14th time, remember there's people in our community who are seeing it for the first time. But I really appreciate our ability to go through that and not only go through that activity, but also ask what they think about the information that they're hearing or seeing, how they think we should improve our facilities or take a look at things to make our district better. And we're gonna culminate those things and share them out at our next meeting. On June 10th, I was able and blessed to go along with Jesse Domer and Laura Collins and Jesse Leonhardt from the middle school to go to Bobcat in Johnson Creek. If you have not been to their facility and or seen their equipment that they put out there, I think it's like 86 of these big kind of lawnmowers a day. They're really kicking material. And it was fun. We got to ride them. Almost broke one accidentally. My sleeve got caught on the articulators. And so the good thing is it shut down real quickly and I was safe. So that was good. And then I got off of it and they said, please walk away. And I said, I'm sorry. And yes, I'm the superintendent of Watertown Unified School District. And I apologize. I'm walking away. But, you know, if you haven't been on, I mean, it's not like the one in your yard. These big commercial machines, and this one is all fully electric one, are amazing. They are amazing. And they can cut grass at 23 miles per hour, I believe. And we're talking about you want to do big football fields with these, right? Not your backyard. So it was fun to see that. It was fun to go through their facility, tour it, see the kinds of jobs that are available for students, talk about career opportunities that students can get right out of school and how our programming leads them right into those job opportunities that are paying really good dollars. So it was just a fun activity. Some of the fun pictures of the day. There are plenty more that we have just going through the facility. These are the ones we could probably share to public. Opportunities, other opportunities, summer school started on the 18th. We have about just over 1,050 students that enrolled. We have 58 certified staff members and other support staff. You can see those up on the board there. Big shout out to Cheryl Hollitz. Oh my goodness, if you haven't seen her lately, she works here in the ESC. She is the assistant to the director of instruction. She has done a wonderful job really supporting that program and helping it increase this last year, working with Jamie Kemp and Jenny Force. So if you see her and Jenny who's here or Jamie, thank them because it is gradually, and this year I say gradually with a small amount because there are things that I, from my standpoint, saw as leaps and bounds, getting better around summer school. And I can't wait to see what the bigger planning is for even next year. But I just wanted to put a shout out. Some important dates to remind you of. The last day of summer school is July 18th. Got a number of meetings. We're like stacking them on top of each other throughout July. Want you to make sure that you take special a look at that because we are stacking meetings and we have been May, June, and now into July. But we're doing a lot of stuff. So if you just take a look at those and you can go back to the presentation once we post it into board docs.
Quick question for board members. Are we still preferring having multiple meetings in one night rather than spreading them out through multiple nights?
I do.
Yes. All right, then we'll continue that practice as we plan for the summer. All right, thank you. All right, thank you, Jared. Next up is the fiscal management report.
Yes, so we started the fiscal meeting at 5:30. Present was myself, Craig, and Sam. Dave was gone. But we also had some other people in attendance. Fred Yount was here, Sarah was here, Kevin, Dave, and Tyler. There were 3 purchases over $20,000. However, one of them, the STEM tables, we moved to the July meeting because we're still waiting on some quotes. Dave explained the replacement process the district is currently working on for Chromebooks. He explained the plan is for the students to use the devices for 4 years, use it as a classroom spare in year 5, and then turn them into parts after that. Committee recommended that the purchase be moved to the full board. You'll see it later on. He then explained other upgrade proposals on the phones. The new phone lines will reduce licensing costs each year and replace the system that is largely out of date and increase security. So we also recommended that move on to the full board tonight. Kevin explained that both Johnson Control and the NAMI, that's the HVAC, preventive maintenance contracts are expired, or they're going into year 3 of the 3-year contract. Both of them are gonna go out to bid next year. Sarah also, presented the preliminary budget for 24-25. The committee looked at all the assumptions that are built into the preliminary budget and what things could change. Mr. Wortman restated that he'd like to have more input on building level budgets. So Craig and Fred were gonna be meeting after that. And we will, for future things to talk about, we're gonna be talking about the preliminary budget in July again. And the calendar, extracurricular activities, special education, is also coming up along with that next month.
All right, thank you. Human resources.
All right, we had our meeting on Monday, June 17th at 5:30 PM. We had a good group there, and we started with our consent agenda, of course, which has a resolution for this evening, as far as reviewing staff appointments, resignations. And in talking about that, and then also, you know, taking a look as far as like employee recruitment and retention and things like that, we did request a turnover report for the past 5 years. So data requested could include information, you know, by building, by job classification, just to kind of help us to identify where the trends might be. And are the trends in resignation, or are they in retirement? And just kind of based upon positions and things like that, that can help us as far as taking a look at that and continuing with that information.
Quick question on that, Tina, we'll look at transfers as well.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Transfers should be in there. Thank you very much for that. We didn't state that specifically, but yes, that would also. Thank you for that. Oh, and then we did also have a request as far as exit survey information. Because we know staff is important to have in a school, so we want to take a look and see, you know, what the trends are, and you know, be able to take a look and positively impact that from there.
Do you have a plan on when you're hoping to probably then take a look?
We don't have, we didn't have a specific date for that. I'm guessing, and Margaret and I haven't had a chance to talk about that, you know, coming from her side of things. I know we do have a full agenda for July, so I'm guessing we would be looking at that for August. That would be my best guess, unless someone has input. Great question, thank you. You will also notice we have a summer school consent agenda. That is also a resolution for our board meeting tonight. And then we were taking a look, we spent a lot of time discussing the calendar study for, the calendar is already set and has been approved for next school year. So we're taking a look at that for the 25-26 calendar year. Margaret is putting together a work group regarding that to be able to take a look at everything as far as some guidance that we gave her as an HR committee. We want the school year end date of June 9th or earlier. And we also want, as far as participation and input, to consider when we're putting that together, input from families, staff members, you know, a survey as far as that is concerned, perhaps with those different entities. Another item on there is considering restructuring the school day to best meet the needs of the learner while providing time for staff collaboration, preparation, all these kinds of things. And so Margaret has been diligently putting together this work group, and appreciate your work on that. We are looking for 2 to 3 board members to be able to participate in that process, because this is also an ask that we have had of this group. I am so far the first volunteer for that. So any other HR committee members, I know you've got back to me there, or board members, please let me know, preferably by the end of this evening. Right, okay,
I'll do it, you know,
thank
I
you.
recommend anybody else wants to, but otherwise I will as well.
Okay, thank you. Correct, you would have interest? Fantastic, wonderful. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. because that work is gonna kind of be fast and furious over the summer. And doing as much as we can this summer and then into fall. Having an outcome there and then, being able to implement, like 2-year calendar cycles as far as that goes. Margaret gave us a very nice update as far as the support staff salary review project, just to kind of let us know, like, hey, yep, we've got it on our radar. And next month will be a much more detailed plan of implementation. And then future meeting planning at July 24. Oh, it's gonna be packed, lots of fun for HR. Consent agenda, summer school staff, or summer school agenda, support staff salary review. And the employee satisfaction survey. So we've got a packed agenda and the committee members did agree. We will start our meeting at 5 p.m. for HR and ours will be anticipated 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then we do have a meeting after that. We adjourned at 8:01 p.m.
And services.
Sure. Ed Services met on Tuesday, June 11th. All committee members were present, plus several other distinguished guests. We had 3 topics on the agenda. Josh Kerr presented on Laude and Act 95. Jamie Kep presented on summer school current as well as the planning timeline for next year. And then we had a presentation on Teachnology by Miranda, Dave Lockstein, and Jason Bull. The minutes accurately capture a lot of the discussion in the presentation. There was no resolutions forthcoming from that. We adjourned 2 hours later and the next meeting is on Tuesday, July 9th.
All right, thank you much. Planning.
We met on Wednesday, June 19th. 2 major topics. It was a short meeting because we wanted the update on the strategic planning process. And so Jason shared with us a brief update there. We also talked about new member orientation and just did a recap of what happened this year, reflecting, and then how to make improvements in the future. Remember, the planning committee, their job is to provide structures and things like this within the district, and we haven't had a structure in the past for new member orientation. So what Fred had asked me to do on a lot of different things is then get it in writing. What's our structure? Let's get that down so that way in the future we have some of that. So there's a lot of this that will be transpiring for this year. So kind of taking a look in there. One of the things in the minutes is a proposal that the committee made, and I shared this with Craig, regarding policy 0142.7. The policy is that new board members meet with the board president, but there may be a situation where whether it be the president or whether it be Sarah Duncan, or if it's the superintendent, if someone's sick, if there's a certain circumstance, if we don't have a designee allowed, we're violating policy. So the committee just suggested we add the words minor change or their designees. So that way we're still abiding by policy. So that will go to policy committee for discussion. It's a minor change. It shouldn't take a whole lot, but just so you're aware of that. One other thing is we are the committee that kind of starts with the processes and the norms. And one of the processes and norms that was established last year with the former board president, which we are now putting fully into effect this year, is as you are going through your minutes, please make sure that there are action items clearly identified in there. Long story short, if it's not in the minutes, it didn't happen. So this is the way that if there's something that should be transpiring in there, that you make sure that it's there. Yes, that is the chairperson's job, but it is our collective job as well. So if there is something that you say, hey, this should have happened, and it didn't, that's your chance to speak up through the discussion at this point in time or contact the chair ahead of time.
And I would also lean towards administrative. We have all of the administrative members who are assigned to those committees. I've looked at you working in partnership with the chairs on that. So I've been looking for you both to work together to get those takeaways listed and in the minutes.
Yeah, I've asked the administrators who have a committee to make sure that they have 2 things on the bottom of the agenda. One, which is future planning. I think we've gotten pretty good at enacting that one in that discussion. The second one is what are action items that we needed to capture. So we're all looking to do that in partnership with the board as we move forward so that we can move that forward depending on, who's doing what.
And I was just gonna add with future agenda planning, if that could be more, descriptive in there. Very bad at it, is there this time around, but there is a change that in the minutes, and that's under the future agenda planning. The July 15th superintendent quarterly review is now from 7 to not 6:30 to 8, so an hour and a half. That shifted back. And so just please make that change,
Lynn,
whatever we can.
for the template for the committee meetings, if we don't have, action items listed on it, we should build it into the template. So we don't forget. Okay.
The policy 0142.7 that you mentioned, is a minor change. So if there's any objection to the policy committee, perhaps that just goes as a first read at the next.
In the July meeting,
Yeah,
and, you're gonna have a policy committee meeting between now and then, I would just float it to the committee.
At that time.
Yeah, if they have a problem with it, you can put it forth in July.
I just wanted to share that I'm not,
No,
I don't necessarily have to sit on that one. I just,
this is it's an odd situation,
Yeah.
so that's where I just wanted to.
It's top of mind, get it out of the way so we don't run into this next year. It's fine. All right, and we don't have it on the agenda, but I had to ask it, so let's go.
Can I finish though? We have one more.
I thought you were done.
But Tina they had a subcommittee. I'm assuming you want that in that report right now as well.
Go ahead and talk to the committee.
Yes.
Board development.
Yeah, I was like, okay, it's in the list somewhere. I know I saw it because I looked it over. Dan Boltner and I met on Wednesday, May 22nd as a subcommittee out of planning, and to work on policy number 8170, board self-evaluation. We had a template from WASB, that we took a look at and, just talked about different things. We also took a look at, our board development retreat from last, year. And so we came together, we just kind of brainstorm some different things, and then we'll have some questions for the planning committee overarching to be able to guide that work. And we're gonna be coming forth to the committee with the trial survey.
And the last under board development, we are meeting as a different subcommittee, looking at a full plan for board development. What's our year-long plan? What's our 3-year plan? Instead of just shoot from hip. And so that's going to happen on Wednesday. The goal is then to present that to committee for discussion and then bring to the board next. Well, we don't meet as a full committee until August, so.
No.
What time? You can do it in the July.
July?
Well,
Yeah, we do meet in July.
We meet.
Okay. We do meet in July. Thank you.
I told you that we're stacking.
I'm
So.
off.
what time on Wednesday is your, subcommittee? All
Only 8
8 AM.
right. Anything else?
Oh.
All right. Policy.
all right. We met on Wednesday, June 12th, and first present were myself, Lori, David Schrader, at the moment, other board members present, not, virtually, Sam, and Jared. So, we went through, policies number 1240, and 1241, that, Diana Johnson happened to have some concerns regarding those particular policies, some additional questions. Yeah, we felt that maybe there's some additional work to be done there. And after discussion, it turns out that policy 1241, we are planning on moving forward with that particular, the committee agreed to let that policy come before us unchanged to the second reading. But policy 2040, there was some verbiage changes and
1240.
1240. And you'll have to help me with that a little bit because that's not actually reflected in our consent agenda accurately as far as what the changes were.
So what we have listed as the policy.
For 1240, that is correct. The changes weren't updated on the second read. So we may have to have a little bit of a refresher on that before that goes through, or does that one have to be referred back?
This does not affect, if this does not reflect the changes that were agreed upon by the committee, we should kick it back. And so that we get the correct changes.
Okay.
And that's easy enough, it's just going back and watching the video
They,
to do rather than have one of the discussion.
okay,
I'm just wondering.
So this is in the consent agenda. When this comes up, we go to the consent agenda, we could take a motion to send this back to committee for full review on it. All right?
okay. I just wanted to make the,
Thank you.
board aware. Policy, 9190, the changes for, the charges for career and technical education projects. This was brought forth as a concern, in previous meetings. And it was after careful consideration, the district the recommendation was the district would not adopt policy 9190. With exception of, some of the verbiage, we want to make sure it got captured into, policy 3250 under student fines and fees. On that particular verbiage is also should be updated. I didn't check to see if that was updated actually, but careful consideration shall be given to each project to ensure that the service rendered is not being exploited and the project is of educational benefit to the students.
That is
That's in there.
represented.
All right. The committee recommended to make that change and move it forward and strike policy 90.
So quick question on that. Since that's the 9,000s and this is a 3,000, will we have to renumber this policy and adopt it by email?
So what's gonna happen is we capture that now, so that way when we get to the fiscal policies. And we're going through our fiscal policies and Neola's fiscal policies, we'll be able to marry that into whatever suggestions. We just didn't wanna lose sight of that.
Right?
And that came out of a 9,000, which wasn't part of the fiscal policies.
Which are
in
in
Neola.
different thousands.
Right, which
Gotcha.
are in a different thousand series. So we wanted to make sure we captured that idea somewhere. We're gonna capture it in our existing policy, which we know is going to trigger one of those other policies and, as we do it. So that's how we're keeping track of it.
All right.
So the 3,000 and 4,000 grouping of policies, was presented, to the committee for discussion, regarding professional staff and support staff. They are, to replace the 4,000 series of HR, policies that exist. The administration indicated that, they are boilerplate and law-based policies, but, felt that it was presented. I mean, there's a lot going on in the month, at the end of the school year, for instance, expulsions and, complaints and things of that nature, which prevented some of this coming forward to a committee, to be able to review them and digest them. More time was needed to have that. So it was determined to move that to the July meeting.
The committee made the recommendation to move it to the.
Yes.
committee.
Correct. The committee made that recommendation. Hold, that extra policy committee on July. And then the committee also requested that, HR Director Margaret Brady and Dr. Bird connect with legal counsel regarding 3430, the grievance procedure,
3340.
3240, the grievance procedure to make
Is it
sure,
3240? It's just 3340, right?
make sure that, I was suggesting a line of what occurred. So that was the discussion on those particular policies. And,
When you said July, are you gonna do that? You meant the committee agreed to send them to the special policy meeting that is set up here in July?
yes, yeah, it's been our practice to have the off meetings where it was normally scheduled, to have a more of an in-depth discussion about the whole policy, when it's needed. And, there's just a lot of work to
Stay on track with our.
stay on track with our aggressive schedule.
I don't wanna put anything more on people's calendars, but with the schedule that we have for Neola, is there a need to do monthly policy meetings until that work is completed
The policy.
for policy? And I'm putting that out there because we have this, tight schedule. Committee members are going to have to make that determination.
Can we remind people present here, what's our target date to get through the Neola policies to have? those ready to
Yeah.
go? Because I think that's,
That's actually in my next.
sorry,
Yep.
I skimmed and I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
Sure. There's some confusion. This was a discussion regarding the approved policies that have been, voted on as far as when they are implemented, and there was some confusion as to what policies are active and what are not, out there on board docs and visible either to the public or otherwise on board docs. There was going to be a discussion relatively in the near future with Neola and to try to navigate that. And this may be a procedural question as well regarding, some of those policies, as the board actually has approved the policies with the line that says they will, take effect when the Neola book is completed. So, and there may be some other policies that don't have that, which would have taken effect immediately. So we may have to procedurally, if we work off of two books, which is what the discussion entailed later on, that to have the policy of our existing policy and another book that would cover what we have approved. If we want to take what we've approved and put that into existing practice because it's out there, then that might be a procedural question.
It might be easier because we have that step where we have that language is to go back, make a minor change to the policies that we've already approved from Neola to add that language. So we have all of that, so they're all clean there. And then we can put a motion in place afterwards that we will adopt the new Neola book and it will replace and we'll take the current policy book out at that time. It seems like that's the cleanest way of doing it, rather than having, if I'm someone in the community and I'm pulling up and I want to look at this policy, well, I don't have a policy here, but I have to go over here and look at it. All of our existing policies are those policies until the work for this is done, and then we can just put them all in at one time. I'm gonna put that out there to the board.
But if we already have, if we pass the resolution, doesn't that mean that
But the resolution didn't enact the policy. The resolution, was with the language, said that once this book from the Neola, let's just call it the Neola book. Once the Neola book is enacted, all of these policies become in force. Before that, what you're approving is the language of the new policy when it goes into force. These policies aren't in force. If there is some policies that didn't have that little tag on the bottom that they should have, we could go back, make those changes, bring that up for the board to just approve those as a minor edit on those policies, and then we can still go forward with the Neola book as a whole entity. Diana?
Well, help me clarify, reword. what You say, and I might be wrong. Watertown policy A and Neola policy A are similar. And the policy group has worked to marry the two together. This is now new Neola policy. Not going into effect until the end of the school year when the whole book is done. Yet we never made revisions on Watertown policy A, so we've agreed to this, but we're still holding on to Watertown policy A just for this year because we're in a state of limbo, so it's easier to find.
But we have made changes to Watertown policy A.
Some of them, no, well, that's B, if B is not similar to Neola.
The
but-
existing Watertown policy, and I will put back, what was it, 3250? That's on the agenda for tonight, where we've updated the policy where as needed, where we went, hey, look, this is a change we can't wait for. We're gonna put that one in place. those are in effect. What we're doing is we're creating a new book of policies. And we're creating language. What we bring forward from the committee is, do you adopt this language when we put this book in place? Yes. And that's what we agree on. And then, when we're all done, we put the book in place. Does that
Right.
make sense?
It does, my understanding that came out of committee. I'm wrong, because I was right.
Yep.
Right now, we have these template books. Kind of like we would have two books that would be visible to the public. WUSD books and the Neola books. These are in place, so there's one of two places to look as these policies become married. The Watertown book becomes smaller, the Neola policy book becomes larger. So by the end of the year, everything has shifted then to that Neola book, but at least we still have both. Nothing's lost in translation, nothing's in limbo, so. Could be wrong.
David?
If it's an option, I would be approve the language and adopt. Anything else, there's gonna be too many inconsistencies, conflicts, misses, gaps, redundancies, looking for two different directions on one topic from two different policies. So as we find out that 9190 didn't even belong, and we're gonna take two words from it and put it into a different one, we can ill afford to have an entirely separate policy that may contradict two of the policies that we're creating with Neola, because one may become two, three may become one, and there'd be no way for anybody to review both books to get consistent guidance on what our current policy is. And given that Fred just said, it's still pretty rare that we're making major revisions to past policies. Sure, we did it with bullying, we did it with, a couple of other ones in the last year, but once we went full into Neola, I don't want to say it ceased. I'm just saying our focus was getting Neola up to speed and trying to adopt as much of it as possible, as quickly as possible, without losing anything. And then it gives the public and it gives us a very clean delineation that says old, new, as of today.
Lori?
I do have a question. If we do come across in this process a policy that we do need to make, whether it's a legal update or shoot or something, we can still do that, or any?
There's nothing stopping us from updating our current policies. The only thing that I would caution on that is if we're updating the current policy that we've already reviewed and approved for Neola, we should make sure that whatever changes we make don't conflict with the new language that's approved for Neola. But the policy team has been doing wonderful work on that, and I assume that they would pull up the Neola policy and say, okay, what's the language here, and we'll just transfer that, and then we can go forward from there.
So I guess I would seek clarification from what David was mentioning. Was the suggestion to have everything approved all at once? And existing policies remains existing policy until book is completed? Or is the suggestion to have the policy that gets approved by the board become active immediately? First.
Yeah, I like the way you said it. Approve the language, adopt the book.
Because and it's important, it's a good conversation to have. Because we're seeking clarification regarding that discussion. Because right now we have one book that's being displayed in board docs, and that's active current policy. And then there's templates. So there's no visual of what's actually being worked on from the public's view. That might actually help alleviate some of the burden that administration is faced with when it comes to that particular. Because it was a big wondering, how can this logistically work with these two books and Neola?
And Craig, to your point, there's a good chance that 19 out of 20, it wouldn't matter what policy a person referenced. Because as you know, we're blending them for the most part anyway. But there's always gonna be that instance where they come across two contradictory policies, one in the old book and one in the new book. And there's no point in putting anybody through that, staff, teacher, student, board. Just keep them separate until we adopt the whole thing. But 95% of the time, they're probably gonna say the same thing, but there's the chance that they may not.
I will say, and I know we talked about it the other night, the one concern I had was how this would look for administrators doing guidelines. You know, now we have, a whole book of new policies. It may affect your guidelines, but, you know, what that was just
There's
something,
gonna be some
I mean, good luck with
implementation.
that one.
There's gonna be some implementation like that. District and the community, we're all gonna have to face that.
Right,
I mean, we can't just turn our organization around because we're, what policy, it does take us time
sure.
to implement and continue with fidelity and, as some of you know, it's hard to stay on top of and aware of all of the
Right.
old policy even that was out there and making sure that we're updating that and we're staying on top of that. You know, so this is a big project. One of the things that I worry about if we don't do it all at once, say, this is the new book, we've been through it all, people, is that we have a policy A, right, and a policy A, right? But it actually takes our old policy A, B, and C to, create the new policy A from the Neola policy. And not only that, but within policy A, B, and C, these aim to another policy that we haven't even come across yet that's in a new number set, right? But we've abandoned these policies now as practice, but there was something in there that we won't get addressed until we get the new one. I find that as inefficient and probably not needed. And it would be even more difficult to try to go back and those kind of solutions and keep track of them than to just do it all in whole and then have the system catch up.
Craig,
The only other concern would be that when the policy book is completed and that takes in fact, is communicating that out. That people don't feel overwhelmed with the changes. And ask for some grace in being able to navigate through that.
we'll look to our communications person to help us.
There'll be
get
some
that
hiccups in
properly.
that. Just will be.
So I'm hearing general acclamation of the approve the language adopt book.
Okay.
All right,
So, thank you for that discussion. We have some clarification on what the board would like to do with that. So. But the timeline for the process was asked earlier, was about 18 months as of October of 2023. So, would have us wrapping up this work by the end of the 2024-2025 school year if we maintain that aggressive pace. So we're trying, we're getting through it. It's not, it's a process, trust me. There's definitely some growing pains, which we'll probably discuss a little bit here later on tonight. So it was also predetermined, it was also determined that the work will need, to be done on the website to reflect some of the, policies that, to make the process more transparent. At least we're having these discussions in a public setting, and the public is probably seeking out those changes. There might still be some confusion. Hopefully there's still an explanation offered to that process.
can
We're
we,
gonna work on Mr. Brown from the
whatever, if we make that, we need to make that clear that the Neola policies are to be adopted, you know, in 2025. They're not live, they're anything.
25, 26 school year.
Yeah, if that's what we're gonna go with it, but these are not live, these are the languages that are approved, but this is not to be a board adoption until, you know, that year. Clearly state that.
So then we also happen to have a future planning discussion that was on the process that the committee felt that we should probably stick by as far as an efficiency standpoint, by which a policy, that the policy committee will take the first attempt at the policy. And then from there, it would go to, if it got approved, move forward to first read. And then at first read, if a particular committee, and this is to get through the Neola approval process. The committee felt that it was necessary to carve that off for further discussion because there's additional work to be done. That would be referred to committee at that time during the first read. And then based on that, that committee would have to do further discussion on it. And then it would either enter, depending if those are minor changes or major changes, either enter into the first read process or the second read process. I think that's kind of what the intention was behind that.
Yeah, just to clarify on that, what I'm looking at with the policy committee is the policy committee owns language. They're marrying up the language between the two. But our committees, you guys are the subject matter experts when it comes to that committee. So if there is a substantive question on the subject matter of that policy that is pertinent to fiscal or HR, then you have questions on that, the way it is reworded, then pull it into your committee and say, we want to take a look at this from our purview on this. But language and the marrying of the language with Neola, it's owned by the policy committee. So,
Can I offer this really quick? Let's put it this way, we're all school board members. We all ultimately have a vote on policy. So it's up to the board as far as what kind of a level of efficiency they want to have when it comes to these discussions. I felt, as the policy chair, that really worked hard to, maintain the respect and integrity of the process that we laid forward, and that we're gonna work hard to come together on those discussions. I'd like to invite people of our board into those discussions to share that work so that we can get to that point. So I'm hoping that means that that frees up the other committees to carry on with their regular work product. Because this is policy work. If there's something that we need to focus on that you're concerned about, I would prefer that that's brought forward, so that we can be efficient. I'd rather have a heated discussion in policy than here tonight, because ultimately, if I do feel that there's a possibility that if a committee takes that particular policy and makes substantial changes, that's gonna come back here tonight. And we're gonna have a debate about that, and we should be spending valuable time getting through a meeting. I don't know, that's just my thought.
The layer I'll add, and I think this is kind of what Craig's saying, we've talked a lot about this. Because, we're dealing with policy of the whole district, that also means we're dealing with policy that touches a lot of the committees that you're working in. And we know that you, deal with a lot of the workflow and other things that are happening in that committee. When it comes to the policy of that committee, though, if you're going to pull it between first read and second read, to your committee, we're hoping that the rationale behind you doing that, instead of coming and talking about that policy, is that there's some substantive review that has to be done. That may also include maybe bringing in some people from Baird or an outside opinion, or that really needs a special focus in your committee. Otherwise, just come to the policy committee and share where we can make those tweaks. And have somebody from your committee represent the thoughts of the committee as to what was discussed between first read and second read, maybe even at your committee level, to say, hey, make sure that committee gets this verbiage. right? There should be a real reason for you to pull that work into your committee, because you're busy with a lot of the other stuff that you're doing. And it's the job of policy to make sure that we get the books done. Is that right, Craig?
Yeah, that's accurate.
And just to add, the members on policy all kind of spread around in other committees. So I think we
That's
all
right.
have a little bit of, you know, or we can be like, ooh, this really should. I think we can together make that. You know.
So our next meeting is July 11th.
Right.
That includes my report. Discussion. Yeah.
All right, good. Hearing nothing, consent agenda, which is the collection of our minutes, committee summaries, personnel, staffing, approval of bills, first and second reading of policies. So, do I have a motion on this agenda?
So, second.
Motion by Tina, second by David. So comments, questions, discussion on the consent agenda. Right, I will go to, there was a discussion earlier tonight of removing policy 1240 and sending that back to the policy committee.
I recommend I move to,
Got a motion,
policy.
a second from Sam. Can they get a roll call vote on that one, please?
David Schrader,
Yes.
Dan Boltner,
Yes.
Craig Morgan,
Yes.
Mike Higgins,
Yes.
Lori Holland, yes. Fred Yant,
Yes.
Diana Johnson, yes. Tina Johnson, yes. Sam Owen,
Yes.
Right, and the motion carries. Any other comments, questions, or changes to the consent agenda? Hearing none. Can we get a roll call? Can we get a roll call vote on the consent agenda? Motion by Tina, second by David.
David Schrader,
Yes.
Dan Boltner,
Yes.
Craig Morgan,
Yes.
Mike Higgins,
Yeah.
Lori Holland, yes. Young,
Yes.
Tina Johnson, yes. Diana Johnson, yes. Sam Owen,
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Moves on to next item on the list, action items. First item on this is resolution 9319, the 2024 summer school staff. Can we get a motion?
So
Moved by Sam,
I'll second.
second by Dan. Roll call vote on this, please. Wait, comments, questions? Getting ahead of myself. Roll call vote, please.
David Schrader,
Yeah.
Dan Boltner,
Yes.
Craig Morgan,
yes.
Mike Higgins,
Yes.
Lori Holland, yes. Fred Yant,
Yes.
Diana Johnson, yes. Tina Johnson, yes. Sam Owen,
Yes.
Right. Carries. Next item is resolution 9320, renewal of Johnson Controls Fire Protection Services.
So moved.
The move.
Second.
Second by Mike. This came up in fiscal. Is there anything we want to add to this before we take?
Just year 3 out of a 3-year contract.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
David Schrader,
Yes.
Dan Boltner,
Yes.
Craig Morgan,
Yes.
Mike Higgins,
Yeah.
Lori Holland, yes. Fred Yant,
Yes.
Diana Johnson, yes. Tina Johnson, yes. Sam Owen,
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Next is resolution 9321, renewal of NAMI Comfort Systems HVAC preventive maintenance agreement. Motion.
Oh,
Motion by Mike.
Second.
Second by Sam. Any comments, questions, information we want to put on this one? This one came out of fiscal as well,
same thing. 3-year, 3rd year out of 3 years.
right? Roll call vote, please.
David Schrader,
Yes.
Dan Boltner,
Yes.
Craig Morgan,
Yes.
Mike Higgins,
Yes.
Lori Holland, yes. Fred Yant,
Yes.
Diana Johnson, yes. Tina Johnson, yes. Sam Owen,
Yes.
The motion carries. Next up in our fiscal roll is resolution 9322, purchase of Chromebooks from Insight. Have a motion.
Second.
Mike, seconded by Craig. Comments, questions, information on this one?
I'll just say that, this is the lowest price that came in. And this is according to a plan by which, our Chromebooks are rotated through. And there's a little bit of a concern that we purchased a number of, Chromebooks during the heat of the, pandemic. And we're trying to also, keep that in perspective when we plan around these particular purchases, so that there is not just a large amount of Chromebooks retiring at the same time. So it's perhaps a larger number than we've seen in the past, but this is the plan to try to mitigate, some sticker shock later on.
Yes.
Did that change the original timeline a little bit? I know we had gotten. Did that change, did we change it up a little bit? I'm trying to
If I
remember.
remember it, we actually extended.
Okay,
So we were using them extra year yet.
okay,
Refer to Dave.
You see,
yeah.
Yeah, so it did, last year the plan was second grade, sixth grade and freshmen that received them.
Right,
We shifted gears, feeling that, having touchscreens in kindergarten, having that follow them up through fourth grade made more sense, and gave us 5 years on the touchscreen. So this year, we're moving to the kindergarten, fifth grade freshmen, so that it's fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and then 4 years in high school and 5 years in the elementary, with touchscreen being in the elementary.
okay. I just remembered it was different. than what
Yeah,
I
we expect this to be.
Perfect. Thank you.
Other questions? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
David Schrader,
Yes.
Dan Boltner,
Yes.
Mike Higgins,
Yes.
Lori Holland. Yes. Craig Young,
Yes.
Diana Johnson.
Yes.
Tina Johnson. Yes. Sam Allen.
yes,
Right, last item on the agenda tonight, resolution 9323, district-wide phone upgrade with CISA. Have a motion, please. Motion by Mike. Second by Tina. Comments, questions, information on this one?
this is, this is actually a couple of different things that are being provided through CISA. And, the phone system, and then, also the outdoor video surveillance, intercom, that's controlling the security as well. So, when the initial quotes came through, as I understand, there was a number, there's quite a large number, and CISA revised that and provided.
Other questions? Roll call vote, please.
David Schrader,
Yes.
Dan Boltner,
Yes.
Craig Worthing,
Yes,
Mike Higgins.
Yeah.
Lori Holland.
Yes.
Craig Young,
Yes.
Diana Johnson.
Yeah.
Tina Johnson. Yes. Sam Allen.
yes.
Motion carries. Brings the end of our action items for tonight, brings us to our second of our two public input items, our meeting sections. So anyone for public input? Again, please state your name and your address. We ask you to write down your address because Link sometimes can't make out what you're saying. So appreciate that.
All right, good evening. My name is Jim Greenwater, a resident of Watertown, address 213 North Church Street in Watertown. Wow, this has been an incredible meeting for you guys to talk about a lot of stuff regarding policy. I commend each and every one of you for your work here. We really appreciate it. I wanted to talk about the strategic planning meeting that happened recently here in Watertown. I was one of the people that attended. We were to go back to the PowerPoint and have to do that. You'll actually see a picture of me right there. So I just wanted to bring up that I thought it was a wonderful opportunity for residents of Watertown to come in and give feedback as to what we want our children to experience. I know that here in Watertown, we can kind of be a little bit divisive sometimes, but I know that at least at my table, and I thought it was amazing that everybody was broken up right away with the icebreaker. At my table, we found a lot of common ground where we want to see things like better loading and unloading for our students at the beginning and end of the school day. Things like more opportunities for trades and education that benefits kids that maybe aren't necessarily the most gifted at like math, science, and English. My table had a really, really great time. We gave a lot of input, and I thought that it was an incredibly valuable experience. This evening, there was an assertion that maybe you folks should take even more on your already overloaded plates to just make those kinds of decisions. I think that's ludicrous. I think that having the opportunity for residents of Watertown to come in, whether they voted or not, to talk about what they want their children's education to be like and what facility changes need to be for their children's education, I think that's invaluable. I think the more you're able to seek input of residents of Watertown like myself, the more likely we are as a community to get an outcome that benefits our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? And then is there anyone online? I should ask Tyler, sorry. All right, that'll be the end of that then tonight. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mike, second by Diana. All in favor? We are adjourned at 8:26 p.m.